Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are very lucky to have with us Devyani from Tide. So Devyani is a product security professional. She's been in the industry for many years, hands-on experience with safeguarding web and mobile applications. She studied cybersecurity as part of her education, specializing in implementation of robust security frameworks. And in her current role at Tide Financials, which is one of the leading fintechs, she's been instrumental in pushing out security into their software development lifecycle, reducing the risks, and in general, increasing the overall resilience. And she's also proficient with a lot of tools from a security perspective and methodologies with a specialization in OWASP. So please join me in welcoming her with a big round of applause. You could use the Zoom reactions if you want, or you could do it, yes, as well. So thank you for that. Welcome, Devyani. Thank you for your time. Just a quick note from a housekeeping perspective. So I have a few questions we're going to start off with, but if you guys have any questions which are top of mind, feel free to put them in the Zoom chat. Feel free to put them in the Slack channel, and I'll make sure we kind of ask those as we go through this session as well. But again, thank you, Devyani, for joining us this morning. Kind of standard question, can you tell us, the audience, a little bit about what Tide does, and your role at Tide, just to get us started?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Devyani. I am the senior product security engineer at Tide. Tide is basically a leading provider for digital business banking. We are a mobile first company where we provide business accounts to small and medium sized businesses, and instantly, like, people can open their account and get a lot of financial services inbuilt. So we are a global company. We have our markets in UK, India, and we are rolling out slowly in the new markets as well. Apart from that, my role at Tide, basically, whatever is security is my role at Tide. We majorly focus on providing like secure SDLC model at Tide, making sure that we empower our developers to shift left and making sure that they understand security and try to make their decision more and more secure. So basically it's more of engineering empowerment rather than us enabling it, and making sure that our developers understand security. They can constantly reach out to us regarding anything and take the security decisions on their end.
Love that. And kind of just that whole model and mindset of collaboration as opposed to confrontation, of more carrots and less sticks. Love that. And what I have seen working with customers is the more you take that methodology of collaboration, the more successful it would be. And just kind of at a high level, I always like asking this question. We work with lots of different customers, Fortune 500s, fintechs, retail. From a Tide perspective, your team from a security side, what is the main, how does your team align, or what are the main goals of your team in making Tide as a business successful?
So our team mostly works on making things secure. Basically, we want to enable this particular principle like shift left from the designing phase to the development phase to making sure by the end of it, we are secure in each and every step. So as I mentioned regarding SDLC model, we will make sure that each and every step will have a security in place, enabling like having different sort of risk assessments, making sure we have the tools embedded like SAST, SCA, DAST tools included in the build pipelines, making it aware to our engineers so that they can start using those tools, is teaching them regarding, educating them basically regarding all these tools and making sure that they understand it, they fix the issues before it lands up in production. So we are more, our major principle is empowering the engineers with thinking that we want to shift left.
Brilliant. No, absolutely. It's a great model of around, hey, how can we find things quicker, earlier, shift left? Now, changing a little bit of gears. So just for context for the audience, I think Tide became a Semgrep customer around 10 months back or so, beginning of the year. Um, I would love for you to kind of share uh, a little bit about, when 10 months back when we started talking, what kind of products were you looking for? What were kind of some of the key things that you wanted in those products? What were kind of some of the, and we'll unpack, that's a loaded question. So let's get started with, where you were, what kind of products were you looking at, etc.
So, as at the back of our mind, we'll always have this shift left approach. We will make sure that each and every particular, process will have a security tool embedded. And the major part when it comes to development of, any of the projects, we will always look into SCA SaaS tools. Now, being like a security driven company as well, we always make sure that our pipelines and, our whole infrastructure is secure, with the code base being like the major place where we want to make it more and more secure every day. So when we looked into Semgrep, we were also like looking into different kind of tools and making sure that there are a lot of like competition regarding SCA and SaaS tools. So what we were thinking of, like when we ever choose a tool, we not only choose like whether it can give you the best approach or not, but we also choose it in a manner whether our engineers will be able to use it, whether it will be interesting and it will be more readable to the engineers, whether they are able to grasp it and just make a quick fixes in when they are developing the whole thing. So when it came to Semgrep, the major advantages, and I think we will get into more of it, but the major advantages which we found out was that it is more easier for our developers to get into Semgrep, more easier for them to focus on the major parts which they need to focus on rather than the ones which they don't need to focus on, and make a secure product.
Brilliant. No, absolutely love that. And I think it's really interesting. The one thing that I remember even during our engagement back then and now is security teams or AppSec teams are maybe 50% of the consumer, at maximum, maybe even lesser. So you're actually making the decision on behalf of your developers, and keeping that mindset and saying, hey, I'm not just looking for something which is easy for me, but what would make it easy is brilliant. So let's dive deeper into it. And I know one of the areas that you were really interested in was around reducing false positives and being able to kind of own the rules, and that was a gap that you had with some of the previous experiences that Tide had with vendors. And do you want to talk a little bit about, why was that important? Talk a little bit about our custom rule capabilities and how Tide is using it.
So I'll break it down into two different aspects. Basically, first is the SCA part. So for us, the major thing is that we always want like all the high-end critical issues not to wind up in production. So we will make sure that we are blocking some of the pipelines at a point where we see any high-end critical issues. Now, when we were analyzing different tools, we were making sure that what sort of tool our engineers can use which will not give them false positive to block their work. Because if we start to use a tool which can block them in certain scenarios, it becomes very hard to say that engineers can use that tool, and it's easier for them to use it. But when we were looking into Semgrep, I think in our previous conversations also, the major part which we wanted was making it less and less false positive. So when you guys come up with the feature of reachability analysis, it was the major selling point for us, because at that point, like we reduced, I think 80% of the false positive capabilities. So that was the major selling point for us, just because now we can just go to the engineer saying that you are not getting any false positives. It's all which is in the code. It's reachable in the code. You only have to deal with the things which are in your code, rather than something which is going to some third party, some open source where they don't have any control over. So that was one of the major things for the SCA part. Now coming to the SaaS part, like there are a lot of SaaS solutions out there. It can be open source, it can be other things as well. But again, like we are, as I mentioned, we are more driving towards us easily, getting to know the tool, but it is more for our engineers because they are the people who are more, into that code. We don't know the code. We only know the overall scenario of what it's going on. Okay, this is happening. This particular service is doing this thing, but they are the daily users of those code. And when it comes to custom rules, it becomes easier for us because with the custom rules, I think we created a lot of our own custom rules with the help of engineers, with the help of, them taking a stand and creating their custom rules. And I think whatever we have created, it has given us 100% positive result. Like
Wow.
making sure that we have like authentication in places in many of the services, we making sure that, there is no bypassing of some of the auth levels and everything. So those custom rules came into the picture at that time when, we wanted to make sure that all our engineers are understanding and they are actually creating the rules. So always making sure that, by the end of this, we will not be the one who will be creating the rules, they are the one. And for that we have like different, like we have a security champions program where we, tell them, they get the first sight of everything basically in our company. So whatever we are doing, they are the people who are the first like looker of whatever the new tool is coming in, whatever the new features are coming in, and we will tell them why it is good and start to, explain them, and they making it more and more better for us. So
Brilliant.
it is always like these two things. When it came for Semgrep, we were choosing Semgrep, and these two things came into the picture, and that was the major thing why we chose Semgrep also.
That's an amazing, amazing answer. And the thing I liked about this, Devyani, also for our audience here, is which is very technical, is it's kind of dead in that technical thing, but lots to unpack there. So I'm going to maybe start off on the supply chain side. So for the people in the audience who are not familiar with reachability analysis, that's something we're going to cover in the in the hands-on lab. But essentially what we do there is we will actually check if that specific third party or a third-party package that you're using is being used as part of your source code or not.
Lui mi ha mandato lo schemino di come avevamo utilizzato noi.
And we, yeah. So that's on the reachability analysis side, and that's where I think Devyani said 80% reduction in false positive. That's actually really, really amazing. The other side that we talked about. So let's unpack a little bit on the security champions and the custom rule writing side, Devyani. So I think most of the audience here should be familiar with the fact that with Semgrep, our rules are very transparent. You can actually see what's happening. But what was really interesting for me, two things that stood out. One was 100% fix rate. So what that means is if Devyani or if Semgrep shows a vulnerability to a developer for these custom rules, 100% of those get fixed, which means 0% false positives. And I think that's an amazing one. But, and can you talk a little bit about this security champions program? How are you guys getting your teams to write this? Any tips and tricks for the teams here? Because I think all of us especially are trying to collaborate with our engineers, and anything that you guys did which really helped them grasp, of course, writing rules is easy for us, but anything that you guys did there that really made that successful and getting them to write would be, I think, really useful for the team to, for the audience to listen.
Sure. So mostly at Tide, what we majorly do as a project team is we will always perform threat modeling sessions. And the threat modeling sessions will always cover the developers, even the security champions. We have given a lot of sessions to them as well. And when you provide them with these insights, they will always have this thing in mind. Can I automate something? Can I automate, making sure that these security features, are enabled and don't end up in a bad state. So when we started to do this and we started to communicate with each and every one of them, we, like the whole team actually performed a very well job in communicating these things to, every owner of every product. And with that, this automation thinking comes into the picture. So they were more interested in knowing that how can we include it in our pipelines, and how can we, make our own rules. Either it is, in Java, either it is in Python, either it is in Terraform, or any other language which they want to use, to make sure that, these don't end up, because sometimes, like after the whole process, when the product is built, they will get a vulnerability on that their name, saying that, oh, you have not done this thing. Or with the security champions, people saying that, okay, why we do have this vulnerability, can't we, just get rid of it? So when these things comes, they started to, contact us. They started to understand that, like, how these custom rules can be created, and started to build these things with us. It's not like all the engineers are doing it on their own, but started to build these rules with us, having a conversation, having a discussion with us, and then ending up in a manner that now we are at a state that those custom rules which we have created have a fixed rate of 100%. So people have started to, grasp that knowledge. Even with the threat modeling session, we will always tell them that, if you want to automate this, you can just use Semgrep on this one. We can let you know how the custom rules are created. We can do all these things. So those kind of conversations, when you put it in their mind that something can be automated, something can be, made better, they will always choose that over getting, a vulnerability issue on their name.
No, absolutely. I love that. And it's, again, a couple of key things here. I know in the industry, there's a lot of talk now about secure defaults. So, hey, how can we just automate the checks for these secure defaults? And that's what you guys have actually implemented in practice at scale across all of Tide. So it's really, really brilliant. And the second thing is, right, if you enable your developers, they want to do the right thing. Nobody wants to see vulnerable code, and that's kind of the adoption. Now, I can also hear lots of teams here saying, oh, I'm one AppSec guy, or we have a ratio of 1:50 for AppSec to devs. And custom rules, am I just creating lots of workload for myself? Would I be the one who's kind of writing these rules? How have you looked at scaling that out? And I know there'll be a little bit more work for you, but have you guys gotten to a point where you're getting to a self-service through the security champions? Can you talk a little bit about that, just so that the people can see how it's been scaled across your organization?
Yeah, so mostly what we do on these instances is, when it comes to like creating their custom rules, engineers want to do things themselves. If we try to add some things in their pipelines without even letting them know, it will create a little bit of discomfort, because it's their repo, it's their particular personal project. So they love the code they are writing. So what we do is, we have provided them with the Semgrep UI. We have told them, whatever you guys want to do, you can do in that. Whatever you are trying to achieve with automation, you can do that. With the, like, because I think at Tide we are like 1 to 70 engineers, as in one AppSec engineer or ProdSec engineer for 70 engineers. And we have a security champion program which is like good established. We try to tell them regarding, okay, this is good. And with those people, we try to cover more and more and more audience, so that people can understand why it is important. And it will be their job to make this automation, make sure that they are like tuning it down, tuning the rules, tuning it like in a way that they want to do, rather than us doing it. Because if we start to do it, we will do it in a manner that it will start to block stuff. But they want to monitor stuff, they want to see like how it is working out first, and then start to block the thing. So it creates like an environment. Plus, at Tide, we always believe in like security education. We will always want them to educate regarding, okay, what is Semgrep? So we will have a full communication to the whole business regarding, okay, this is the new thing which we are coming up with. If you have any questions, just let us know. There will be good pages regarding, how this can be done, how you can automate stuff with your own thing, how you can create these rules. So many people reach out to us individually asking us like, what is this? What it is about. With the new features also, if they see any new features in Semgrep or any other tool, they will always reach out to us saying that, how can I enable it in our system?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love that. I love the concept of, hey, this is not my AppSec tool. You're democratizing it for your developers. Because finally, in order for Tide to get benefit from it, the developers need to use it. And I love the collaboration, the way you kind of, disseminating the knowledge there. Talking of new features, there's a couple of new interesting things that Semgrep has launched over the last 6 months. So one of them was the AI capabilities, which we call Semgrep Assistant. The other one is we've introduced lots of different IDE integrations for VS Code, JetBrains products like IntelliJ, PyCharm, etc. Where is Tide in that journey? Are you guys, and maybe personally yourself, how you're using it, as well as the adoption with some of the teams as well?
Yeah. So I feel like Semgrep is fast growing, to be honest, with all these features. And specifically with AI, we are very keen to get AI integrated. It's just that we need to, pass some processes at Tide to get it integrated. But personally, because I do have a personal, my GitHub, my Semgrep account as well, where I do the scans. And I love the fact that how AI works, because it's just like communicating, getting the answers on the go, rather than us as like whenever go
Sorry about that.
no worries. Rather than when somebody's raising a PR, they'll just get like a Semgrep bot saying that, oh, you have done this mistake, or you have got a vulnerable function here. But people don't understand, even though like you guys gave a good description, people sometimes don't understand like why it is vulnerable, what will happen with that. So with the AI enabled assistance, you can actually communicate with somebody rather than googling it separately. Oh, how this can work, going through a lot of pages. You can just talk to AI saying how it can be vulnerable, how can I protect it, what's the remediation about it, and people just get the answer on the go, rather than working, sitting back. Okay, I'll Google searches maybe next time, just because I am in a hurry to launch this to production right now, right? So those kind of things, I guess. And I love the feature because it gives me good remediation answers on the go, and I can again change my code at that point, raise another PR, and that's gone. So those are major factors which I like about it. The other thing is with the new approaches like ID, as I mentioned, our developers are very keen to know about new things. So I think one of the developers at Tide like reached out to me saying that, okay, Semgrep is an ID, how should I use it? How can I use it? So now we are like trying to get it embedded in the IDEs, asking everybody to how you can embed it, because there are a lot of IDs. So it will again shift left from the beginning itself, even not in GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. Even in the beginning, when they are actually developing the code, they can just get these things done, right? So those are kind of things like where Semgrep is like winning a lot of hearts of everybody. Okay, and plus the third thing which came out very recently, secret scanning. And I think that is something which we need to look at into the future, because we have seen a lot of secrets being disclosed in different, even in open source projects, there are a lot of secrets which can be disclosed, right? So Semgrep is like giving out those things specifically the way like there also the major thing is reduction of false positive, because Semgrep came to this approach by making sure that secrets are not disclosed in a manner that they are deactivated. Why? Because they check whether those are active secrets or not. So that is the major thing which I think Semgrep is winning over any other tool right now, because that will give everyone a time to only work on the things which they care about. If it is deactivated, they might not care about it. They'll just say that it's deactivated. It's like 1 year ago, something came up and now we have rotated everything. Why it is showing us there? So it's more and more of that progressive approach where you guys are making sure that, less false positive, less making engineers drive crazy regarding, oh, I don't need to fix this thing. I just want to make sure that, I'm fixing the things which are important to me. So I think those are the kind of things which Semgrep is winning over. And in the future, I am very keen to get these integrated.
Brilliant. Love that. Love that. Always very exciting for me to hear when a developer comes to AppSec and says, give me more security. And that kind of talks to the capabilities of the product around, reducing those false positives, reducing the friction, enabling those developers, and the approach, Devyani, you and your team at Tide have taken. in that collaboration. Just checking, are there any questions, Raj, on the chat or anything else? We might have time for maybe one or two questions before we let Devyani go. I think we're kind of running a little bit behind, but if not, we'll maybe...
No, I don't see any questions.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much, Devyani. Really appreciate your time. Please give Devyani a big round of applause for joining us today. And you're happy to stay with us for the rest of the session if you want. But I think you'd be able to deliver the session, then go through it. So, but thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for inviting. But yeah, thank you so much. I have other meetings to do. So yeah, I'll jump off now, but thank you so much for inviting.